Hello and welcome to Comic Solving Problems. I'm Stephen Allen.
And I'm Eric McElroy, and welcome to the show where we solve problems as only comics can, with a lack of seriousness and a tendency to end everything in a bad pun, because there are no other kind of puns.
I thought you were going to do a pun.
No, I do. I've never really been much of a pun-based comedian.
Really
I mean, what would
expected.
have been the natural pun to go there? I
Uh,
mean, that was kind of
yeah, no, you would have had to set one up in the earlier.
yeah,
We end everything
couldn't be
with a
bothered.
bad pun because I'll work on that. By the end of the show, I'll have thought of
Work on
something.
it. Yeah, I thought maybe I would deconstruct the implication that we use puns and then not use a pun. It wasn't laziness that made me do it that way.
Right, you went
As
meta.
an intro. I
Okay.
went meta. That's what we're doing. Meta comedy as we solve your problems. So welcome to the show. We're going to whip through some of the big topics in the news and solve those problems as we have because we've been doing this for a year and everything is fine. Thank you for joining us. Whether you're watching on Facebook, you can share. If you're on YouTube, that's our preferred home. Please subscribe to the channel. Sign up for the little bell thing so we can irritate you every time we go live and we put up a new video. And YouTube is where we can catch the best chat as well. If you want to chat to us during the show, maybe throw a problem at us, do whatever you can. Maybe notice I'm doing my hair differently because Steve hasn't said anything about that yet.
It's been mentioned in the
Those
comment
kinds of
section
things.
already. I mean, I feel
Thank
like
you.
I'm not the person to comment on hair, but the people in there can.
It's just nice to be noticed for something, Steve. But we'll talk about my hair later. Um, Thank you as well to the people who have prepaid and bought tickets on Crack Comedy as well. We appreciate that. There will be points during the show where you think, hey, maybe I prepaid for a ticket, but this is good shit. I want to top these guys up. You can do that by buying us a Ko-fi and going on there. And if you're thinking, hey, what amount do I give? Hundreds, thousands, £3 a person. It's fine. £10 is amazing. I mean, you can be generous. We've got that new ticket on Crack Comedy. It says, I'm feeling generous, £20. I mean, that's just for those of you who have been sitting on the cash because you've been furloughed, you lazy bastards. But the rest of you, we're just very glad that you're here. And we're going to have fun for the next 43 minutes.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
43.
yeah.
You
So, I
timed
don't
it
know.
already. Nice.
I'm timing it already. It's part of my new look.
Yeah.
You like that?
I love the fact we've got that dynamic going where you get to the stage of going, you didn't even mention my hair. I got enough of that going on. Actually, I'm fine with that, more of that dynamic. But
I mean, you're one of
Sal's,
the few people I see. Actually, I don't see you physically, obviously, because that would be inappropriate, but for various reasons and the restraining order. But it's nice to be noticed.
sure it is. Well, you were by Sal in the comment section saying, what's with the Harry Potter look, Eric?
Well, I've been gelling it back, but it's getting so long now. It just looks so. This is conditioned and shampooed. It's softer. The gel just makes it hard.
Like you just stepped out of a salon.
Yep, in the 70s.
You do have that Richard Whiteley vibe going on with the side
Yeah,
parting, though. You've got
it's kind
that.
of yeah. I don't mean to have this. I don't like there. That's better.
Yeah. That now just looks more like it's a TV host from the 80s, but I just don't know which one. But that's
There you
good.
go.
Hey, that'll work for
Hey,
this. We'll take a little bit of 80s.
yeah. There's no problems with TV hosts from the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. Whoops.
All right.
Um,
You've got the first problem for us.
I have. Although Martin says Eric looks like, oh, I don't know who this person is. It's a football thing.
Oh, Jacques Lowe.
Football. Oh,
Wart.
straight away.
If it's a baseball player, I wouldn't know that either.
Stephen Leatherdale says I'm getting more Robin Williams Mork vibe from Eric.
Nano. I'll take that.
Brilliant. Right, so while you keep the comments coming through on any of the places where you can put some comments in, how do we get rid of all the messages? God, there's a lot of them. So you can send some messages if you'd like to comment on Eric's hair, because if you don't talk about it, apparently he gets a bit like that.
It's just nice.
But while that happens, I'll crack on with the first problem, which should be relatively easy to solve, because I thought I'd just do a how do we make sure we keep beating COVID? There's a problem, and it's one that should be relatively easy, because if we look at the figures, there's a slight movement backwards, 2.4% increase week on week, but people are going back to school, people are being slightly more social, and here's the thing, more testing. And I've got to be honest, I do feel sorry for kids having to get tested all the time to go into school, because I don't know how many of these COVID tests that you've taken, but they're horrible, aren't they? They're really... We've spent years being told, don't put cotton buds in your ears, and then all of a sudden you've got to shove a longer one up your nose. Pick a lane, society. Give me some clarity here. And so it is... that's the thing. I'd use that phrase, shove it up your nose. And I'm probably going to try to stop using that phrase because it's wrong. And I worry that all of these people taking tests, especially the self-done tests, people just cram it up their nose a bit, whereas actually, see in the diagram, it's meant to go that far back into your head. Oh, it's easier to see on him because he had some sort of an accident by the looks of it. He's had half his cheek blown off. But for the rest of us, it's really difficult. So what I thought I'd do, I don't have a swab to use, and I'm not going to, if I had a test around the house, I'm not going to use them. They're flipping expensive. But I do have lots of cotton buds because apparently we're not allowed to use them in our ears anymore. So just to prove the point, and I'm sorry if this ends up being gross, but because I've seen people do tests like this, and this is not even the comedy section, this is now public service broadcasting, because if you do a self-test and you just shove it up your nose, so you get like about that far in, no good. Length of this thing, if you can go back in, I mean, it'd go further than that, but I want to see this. Does it smell like ears to you? Probably should have used a clean one. And that's how far it's meant to go in. Whew. Fresh. Public service broadcasting at its finest. Yeah, really should have had a new one. But, I mean, that's making my eyes water. And yes, that's bad. But what would make your eyes water more is the other type of test that's available. We mentioned this before. In China, they do anal swabs. Now, I can't help but think the reason they introduced anal swabs is so that people stop complaining about the nasal ones as much in conversations like this.
Hello, sir. Welcome to the test centre.
Hello.
Could I just ask, are you here for the nasal swab?
Oh, no, I don't really like putting things up my nose.
Or the anal swab?
Here you go. Because, I mean, I don't know how far they have to shove the other one up. I'm not going to do that demonstration on the TV thingy either. I hope you don't have to hit the same spot, because that is the long way round. My word. So there is the worry about how far you push it up. But, okay, nasal swabs, anal swabs, people aren't liking that. There is another way. There's a new test that's been invented where you don't have to be swabbed, you just scream. A Dutch inventor thinks it might work, and we're still waiting to see the test results for this guy. Probably not going to be good. Here's a picture of the guy who's invented it, the Dutch inventor. There he is. I mean, he's got the look of someone who's actually saying, yes, come into my lab, I will make you scream. It's the most terrifying thing I've seen. And I think it's great because I don't like being swabbed. That little demonstration it's horrible. But I am screaming on a daily basis, so just catch one of those and test it. We've reached that stage where if I go to the doctors and the doctor says, say I am taking that opportunity to do this. That's the vibe. In fact, when I recorded that earlier, I realised it reminded me of something, and I think I've worked out what it is. There we go.
Oh my.
We have the same vibe. That's not a good sign, is it? Breakdown Britney and current me. Fair enough. But do you want to see some of the actual footage of people at the test centre? Here we are. Here's what happened in the Dutch test.
Okay.
I mean, they weren't taking the test at the time. They'd just been told about this headline. Whew. So it's good news. Yeah, we can keep on top of COVID by screaming. I'm all up for that.
I thought maybe those screaming people were getting the Chinese swab.
Oh, cold hands.
Ooh,
that would be the way to do it. I think I make a lot of logic by saying, like, if people moan about the nasal swabs, but if you're told there's nasal or anal, you go like, okay, I'll do the nose. All you got to do is say to the people having the anal swabs, there's the anal swab or there's the anal fist. It's up to you. And then all of a sudden you wouldn't moan about the swab so much. Well, some people.
Definitely would depend on the size of that swab.
Yeah.
That would make a big difference in that. Although I have to say, now that I've seen you shove that up your nose, I'm very disappointed that you didn't demonstrate the Chinese swab. I mean, I think that that's a commitment to the craft that you should have gone for. And that's the kind of thing that our viewers, especially our regular viewers, would support. And I would imagine we'd get some nice donations for that.
I honestly don't know if I'd be able to shove it as far in as I did the nose one. And I'm okay with never finding out.
There's only one way to know. But if you want to see Steve The anal swab test. Now's the time to put those contributions in there with the subject line.
Have you done any actual swab tests, nasal ones?
I've only done one, but it was a self-administered one, and I did not shove it that far back.
That's my point. I mean, seriously, as much as this is just a silly show with silly jokes, that's what I worry about. There are loads of self-administered tests, and most people are just wiping it up around their bogies and going, "Hey, I'll check this." And so the test results aren't accurate. And I actually thought today, should I do a thing where I cram the thing up my nose? Yeah, I'm saving the world. 11 viewers at a time. Boom.
But if it had slipped.
Oh, I've done that all the time. I used to, and this is a bit where you shouldn't do it, but when I used to get lots of like blocked up sinuses, I probably really shouldn't tell you this story, but when it was just like impenetrable, I just couldn't get the blockage shifted, and I work for a living using my voice, so it's desperate. I used to, please don't write it and tell me it's bad. I used to put Olbus oil on the end of a cotton bud, and then both cotton buds all the way back, and just the fumes would just clear my sinuses. And it was hardcore. Bloody worked. But don't try it at home.
Don't do that.
Don't put Olbus up your bum either. We should definitely say that.
Have you tried it?
No,
you
but
don't
that's...
know. You don't know.
No.
It's a different channel we need to launch. I bet we'd make a lot more money.
Yep. Martin says commitment to the craft, more like commitment to the crap.
Phil Mitchell was briefly back.
Yeah, leave it out.
That was you. There we go.
And Stephen Leatherdale, I wonder if that Dutch doctor has a sex lab. Yes, come with me, you'll scream in the sex lab.
Makes sense. I mean, that's what they're known for.
Yeah. I mean, if you're inventing a scream booth, you are a Bond villain. You don't even need to be told you're a Bond villain. Have you not worked it out? You're evil.
Maybe that's what the Bond villains were doing all those years ago. You know, prepare to die, Bond, because you might have COVID.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to swab.
Exactly. I can't see any more comments on my end. Have you got something else up there?
No, I think we might
ready
be
to crack on.
Nicely up to date. Oh, hang on, a couple of... I'll take Piers, says Amal Coast Sailing.
Okay.
Is that a comment on what Eric looked like? Ooh, harsh.
Piers?
As in Piers Morgan, I guess.
He looks more like you.
No.
He doesn't have that much hair, does he?
Does it? No, I think he's more like you. He's a hairsuit person. You're all the same. You're all the same.
We're all the same. All the same. Yep. I used to have a show on CNN as well. Lost it. Good morning, Britain.
You can keep the comments going through, and if you're enjoying the show, a little donation would go a long way to buying even more of the cotton buds that I'm not allowed to use in my ears anymore.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, you got the other end of that one cotton bud you just used, so you can't. That's why they've got it on both sides.
So you can do two swabs at once? You'd have to back up to each other like a...
No, you just like a bull ring in your nose.
I see. I was talking about the anal ones. I think you'd have to, twerk next to each other so you could do a double side.
Oh, yeah. They've got the double ones for that as well. The family swab. I think that's what it's called.
Martinez says, I fear tonight's health episode should come with some don't try this at home disclaimers. Don't try and back up bum to bum with one swab between you. True.
The problem with telling people don't try this at home right now is that no one is supposed to leave their home.
Where else are you going to try it? You're right. Yeah.
So, catch-22. Right. Steve.
Yes.
I'm going to talk about the next problem now.
Good.
What do you do when your family looks a tiny bit racist? I feel like I'm asking you this question. Steve, your family looks a bit racist.
It's the hair again, isn't it?
I mean this more of a general question. Of course, I'm talking about the family, the firm, the royal family. And I think the thing that you need to do when you find out your family may be or may have an issue is you got to confront it head on. Right? I mean, the first thing you got to do when you find out your children talk to the biggest interview in the world, most prominent interviewer in the world, and they basically call you out. What do we see? One of the first things that Prince Charles did. We saw it right here in this headline. He's in a state of despair over Harry and Meghan's interview, which, that was on Monday, because he's going through the stages of grief when, something bad has happened. You go to denial, then you go to despair, and then you just go back to denial. Didn't happen.
It's nicer.
It's not a problem. Prince William, the brother, he was out today for the first time, and he was asked about it. We can see he was asked about connecting with his brother Harry right here.
Sir, have you spoken to your brother since the interview?
No, I haven't spoken yet, but I will do.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's 2021. It's so hard to connect with people these days. I mean, you know what? You got phone, WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, Insta, Snapchat. I mean, oh yeah, it's so hard to reach out and talk to someone, you know, because if you're a royal, you got to do it by carrier pigeon or whatever, you know, maybe send a note over on one of the ships coming over, just not a slave ship. Don't bring those up. William was also asked about the whole controversy in and of itself here.
And can you just let me know, is the royal family a racist family, sir?
We're very much not a racist family.
Now, it's a little bit hard to hear that because he was walking away mumbling and he doesn't want to confront the issue clearly, but he said that the family is very much not a racist family. But you'll notice there, Steve, he didn't say it wasn't a little bit of a racist family. He just said it was very much not a racist family.
Yeah.
But it could be a little bit, just not very much.
He's got you on the grammar. Yeah, they're clever like that.
Yep, they're clever like that. I mean, to be fair, I mean, they like invented the language, I think. Really followed the course and the history of what they do as royals. But let's look at the family. I mean, do they have a history of racism? I mean, Harry, a little while ago, oopsie daisies. I don't know if he's told Meghan about that incident. But to be fair, I mean, Harry, he was just trying to keep it in the family, wasn't he? Because we can go back to Granddad. Which we can see here back in the day. That's Elizabeth's daddy. I don't know who the guy on the right is.
Far
Best
right.
not to talk about that. Yeah, exactly. Far, far right. Now, when you're trying to deal with something head on like this, you want people to come out and speak on your behalf, right? I mean, they had Piers Morgan make a big strop this week. They've been rolling out other people on American television to stand up for the royals. This guy was on TV in America. I'm not sure with friends like this, you're really going to be in a good position. If you're thinking, I've been accused of being an institutionally racist organization, could you bring me Nigel Farage? I'm not saying one way or another, but it's just not the first person that I would call. You know, obviously, Harry's not the first person that William called, but he's not the first person I would call either. So did Nigel say anything that could potentially make things worse? Have a listen.
The Queen and the royal family have spent the last 70 years touring round the Commonwealth. The vast majority of those people are black and Asian.
There you go. Nothing says you're not racist by talking about the people you rule over who are different than you. Absolutely no way that could be construed as racist in any way whatsoever. So I'll say it again. After launching that, is there any way Nigel could have made this worse?
I would put it to you, nobody in the world in history has done more for people of colour than the British royal family.
Yeah, that just feels like something that couldn't hold up to very much basic level of fact checking. I mean, anytime, whenever you say, I put it to you, it sounds like you're not going to be very factual. It just sounds like you're making it up. And so he said that, and I want to give credit where credit is due, because Femi is if you're not from the UK, he's an activist who fought against Brexit, and he's a commentator on a number of things. He's a really nice guy. He tweeted this out. We've got the tweet here right after Nigel tweeted that clip, where Femi basically he just typed into Google, because you can see what he's done a screenshot there. This is Femi's tweet of a screenshot where he's just typed into Google "King Slave Trade English," and the first thing that comes up, you didn't even have to click on it, is basically talking about how Charles II helped set up a company with the Duke of York that created a company called the Royal African Company that, basically began the slave trade back in the day. So the Royal African Country, or the short name, RAC. I think I'm going to have to change my breakdown cover.
Don't change to the AA. They're a bunch of drunks.
Oh, God. So, I mean, obviously, as soon as you make a statement like that, you're going to be confronted with a legacy of an organization that ruled over an empire, that ruled over the world. The vast number of those people, as Nigel just pointed out, are different than you are. right? I mean, and then you add the divine right of kings, you've got hereditary power, the beginnings of the slave trade. I mean, if I was able to put that to Nigel and to say to Nigel, now that you know all that, how do you feel when you're confronted with that legacy and past, Nigel?
I'm disgusted. The British people are disgusted. And by a majority of 2-1, opinion polls now say we want them stripped of their titles.
Wow. That's pretty powerful stuff, Nigel. Of course, I just want to point out, for legal reasons, I did take that completely out of context, and he was not talking about the royal family.
Although being sued would really help our publicity.
Oh my God! Please, someone sue us. Please, if you were thinking about donating to the show or suing us, don't donate, because then we'll have assets you could take. Sue us.
Well, donate first and sue to get your donation back.
There you go. You could do that, but only if you've donated in the thousands. Because we can't afford a legal defense fund.
No. Or we wouldn't put up a defense. It'd just be fair enough. Get your donation back.
Yeah, we're filming this from America, so it's free speech there. It's fine.
Oh, dearie me. Do we think as well, when Prince William was out and about doing his walk, was there any deliberate PRing in who he managed to position himself stood right next to?
The fact that his father was at a church that was kind of a part of the black community on Monday or Tuesday, and then he was where he was today. Yeah, I think maybe they hastily arranged some visits. I'd like to know how far in advance those things were booked.
Yeah, feels like schedule got changed pretty quick.
Yep, pretty quick. The old schedule, as you say.
Yeah.
Schedule.
Chris says, sorry I'm late, have I missed much? I mean, I did shove a swab up my bum.
Hello?
Oh, Eric's changed his hair. You've got to notice that now you're in the chat, otherwise he gets a bit...
Well, don't. It's just something different.
Look at this. Chris Curling saying, keeping it real on Trovo. He's watching via Trovo rather than the usual. Nice.
Wow.
Is it good?
It's our
is
second
it
Trovo, isn't it?
This is our second Trovo viewer. Yeah. Is it crisper than normal? Is it good? Can you sling it to your TV like you can on YouTube?
What does Trovo stand for?
And a lot. In fact, we did talk about this off air. If you are watching us on your big TV, if you are slinging this or whatever the phrase is, the appropriate verb, do take a picture of it and tweet it to us. The Twitter things are on the screen. We should actually put the Comic Solving Problems Twitter on the screen at some point as well. I'll add that for the next episode.
There we go. And while we're in this, thank you, Sal, who's done a little bit of Kofi action during that first section. So thank you, Sal. I will eventually be able to afford to get my hair cut once this is all over.
That's what we're saving up for.
That's what I'm saving up for. It's going to be a lot.
Chris says that Eric's hair still looks great over here. There on Trovo, your hair looks great.
I want to go for the middle part, though.
No, I think it looks better when it's just like randomly dropped down, where it looks like you've left your field from the village where you are the idiot. It's got that kind of vibe.
There we go.
Yeah.
How's that?
Chris says a bum swab. Jings. I don't know. You missed a bum swab or a nasal swab. It doesn't matter which one, does it? Does it? I mean, it does.
You can watch the episode back if you want to try and find the moment where Steve did put the bum swab in, even if he didn't show us. You'd see him smile.
I've got to enjoy the show one way or another, haven't I?
Yep.
Thank you for the messages. Anyway, keep the messages coming, and if you'd like to drop some donation in the little pot, it's all down there on that little link. So, should we move to another problem?
Please.
This one is a bit more intangible. I'd like to try and solve how do we stop ourselves from judging others?
Ooh.
Because recently I have found myself judging. I know that's not good and I shouldn't judge. Like you see some news stories and you just start to think less of other people. For example, I saw this story that 2/3 of people laugh at jokes that they don't even understand. And I mean, that's good news. Works for my gigs. Thank God those people are there. Like when I'm on stage, I always know, knowing that one of my jokes is going to get buried makes me feel like Creon in Sophocles' Antigone. Anyone? It's a good one, wasn't it? It's a good one, Matt. Thank you. Even in the chat, Martin S says, "Ha ha." You're right. It's a good one. The classics.
Is that actually? I mean, if I did understand it, would that be funny?
So Creon is the uncle who insists there are two brothers who die, and he says that only one can be buried. So that's why one of my jokes gets buried.
Ah.
And his sister, Antigone, is the one who buries them both.
Got it. Yeah.
But when you have to explain it, it doesn't make it funny.
but it makes it learning.
Badum tish, says Chris. Hey, I'm stood over here like Creon from Antigone. Badum tsh. Thank you. I'm here all week. So try the ouzo. But so that's one story where I started to judge people. I thought, no, don't judge people. It's not their fault if they don't understand a joke. And then you see other news stories where judgment came into my head when I heard this first line of the story.
And finally, a Hawke's Bay teen has beaten the world record for the longest time spent continuously swinging.
Okay.
What?
You can at that age, can't you? Need a bit of a sit down when you get a bit older, but yeah, okay. What's going on? What kind of swinging are we talking about?
17-year-old Patrick Cooper successfully completed his record attempt.
36 hours! So it was swinging on a swing, and that makes way more sense, but the bit at the end, 36 hours.
Wow.
On a swing. And I mean, I was just about to judge this going, well, that is an absolute waste of your life. Well done. But I realised during those same 36 hours, I too would have been sat on my ass doing nothing. But at the end of it, he's got a world record. So actually, stop judging, Steve. That's the lesson. I say that, though. Yeah. I don't judge the person on the swing. I started to judge the newsreader when I heard her say this.
What are you, 36 hours? So he didn't go toilet, obviously.
Oh, I mean, I'm disgusting, and even I didn't think that. He didn't go toilet. I mean, 36 hours, he must have gone toilet, but on a swing, it just pour out in a line below him. It's like a 3D printer.
You have to have control, don't you? Because you only want to release...
On the upswing.
On the up.
Don't hit it on the way back.
Yeah.
It'll catch your ankles on the way back. So, that was one story where I breathed through it, try not to judge. But then I found one story where I really couldn't help but judge. When I saw this headline, Boots had to apologise for an advert about treating mum to a sex toy for Mother's Day. When they said surprise her, that's not what... Oh, I thought I'd get you something you'd use. Ugh. Nothing wrong with sex toys, nothing wrong with Mother's Day. It's the overlap of the two that seems a bit odd. This is a quote from the story as well. It said that it was a Facebook ad, and it's that vibrators of all different colours and sizes and whatever, and there's a caption that said, for every kind of mum. And that I disagree with. Every. You can't say every, because there are some mums who would rather be bought something like this.
Make yourself comfortable.
The classic film. Burn after reading, wipe after using, I think more like. So let's have a look at what the actual advert that the guy spotted was. There it is. It's a Facebook ad. Looking for the perfect gift for your miles away mum or your near but far mum, wherever she is. We've got something she'll love is technically correct. The way you use the verb. And there's... What's odd about it is you got the vibrators down the bottom, but that kid should not be buying that gift. That is... I know sometimes you get a thing where it'll be like the dad buys something and pretends it's from the 1-year-old, but don't do that with a sex toy. No,
that's definitely where that whole campaign falls down.
It falls down big style on that. The guy who saw the advert, he was less upset. He was laughing about it. In the story, he showed the advert to his sister, who said it was disgusting. That one of those things where you think you're sharing something that's funny, and then it's terrible. Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? He said that flowers would be sufficient. You can't do that with flowers. You'd ruin the petals. You'd get pollen up your business.
That's what the stem is for.
Oh, dear. No.
Not for roses, though. Not for roses.
But in all of this, I realise it's a news story we don't need to worry about yet, because Mother's Day is further off than I think we've got. Is Father's Day first?
No, it's Mother's Day Sunday.
Is it Mother's Day just around the corner? Okay,
yeah.
So Mother's Day around the corner, but then you got Father's Day to worry about. And by the same thing, here's some good news. They actually do vouchers for Pornhub. What's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. You might as well. So I'm not sure if I've particularly solved that problem, but we're up to date on something.
I mean, I think the thing is, once your partner has a child, the kid's got to give a Mother's Day gift, but you as the husband partner person, you also have an expectation of giving a gift. So I think that might be who it was aimed for, is like me as the husband to give to the wife in my personal case. However, you're right. The imagery of that particular advert isn't going to be the one where I'm thinking dildo.
Writing the card on it with your left hand, so it's like kids
I think
writing.
implying that I'm giving it to my wife, who's the
Dear
mother of my
mum.
children, because she doesn't want to touch me anymore, is going to be much more appropriate than giving it to my mum.
But if you buy that gift with a card written with your left hand, so it looks like childish writing, she won't want to touch the kids anymore either. So, win-win.
Yeah, depends on how old your kids are.
Yeah, man alive. So, in terms of the questions in the comment section, Sal says, "What did he want to do with the unburied brother?" I feel like we're off topic. He got buried anyway, but I think it was a punishment. I can't remember now.
Yeah. Well, going back to the hair, which is really the main story that we're covering today, Stephen says that I look a bit like Roy Orbison.
Yeah.
Like little Roy. I don't mind that.
Some big sunglasses on you. You could have that kind of vibe.
Good. Thank you very much. But I can't think of any songs offhand.
I Drove All Night, and I mean, it's Pretty Woman, but that's rubbish. But I Drove All Night
right.
is a song that's always worried me because I drove all night to get to you, crept in your room. These are not behaviours that are good. Crept in your room to make love to you. That's the lyric. No, that's right.
Correcting your room?
Crept in your room to make love
Oh,
to you.
crept.
Yeah.
If you were correcting the room, maybe there's
Went
something
in
that
there,
was at
tied it up,
fault.
went home. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the idea of I drove all night and then crept in your room and made love to you. You have a sleep first. It's exhausting driving all night.
And a shower.
Yeah, that too.
Then does that scan as well?
What does Roy Orbison know about shit?
Got to find parking late at night. It's very problematic.
Yeah. I mean, it's not his fault. He's just trying to help her out. He's got that kind of anything you want, you got it vibe.
That's one of his songs as well,
It's
isn't it?
one of his songs, yeah.
Yeah.
Former DJ, I could do that. It's weird, isn't it? No one needs that. No one needs that.
It's handy. Got skills that have done really well for you during the pandemic. Martin says, crapped in your room.
Yeah. I drove all night, crapped in your room, made love to you. As if making love is not bad enough, then she'd realise, turn over and be like, oh, you did it again, didn't you? Roy.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like the guy who was on the swing all night. I mean, did it have a little hole in the seat?
Just pouring it out.
Just have all your bits hanging out? I mean, that's not good. You wouldn't want too big of a hole.
Not for flipping 36 hours as well, the wind chill.
I'd want to go in one of the, just get a bigger one of those little baby toddler seats.
Yeah.
Because that way, if you fell asleep,
I mean, technically, he would have been allowed breaks. These world records, you don't actually have to do 36 hours. But I love how she didn't know that. I went, so he didn't go toilet? First question she asked about it.
Well, when you do one of the filibusters in the Senate, if you do a proper long filibuster, you're not allowed to leave to go to the toilet.
Yeah, they nap you up, don't they?
Yeah, that's right. That's why it's the greatest democracy in the world.
Yeah.
Because they're willing to sacrifice.
Chris says no Wilbury reference, travelling or otherwise.
I was thinking that's my Roy Orbison Traveling Wilburys. They were great. Did you enjoy the Traveling Wilburys?
Yes. I mean, first supergroup. Actually, I don't know if there are any supergroups before then, but certainly one of the earliest teaming up supergroups. So like Cream and then stuff after that. And what the closest thing to a supergroup we've had recently would have been when McFly and Busted became McBusted. So it just goes to show how much things are worse these days.
I almost understand that reference. Yeah. You lost me after the Traveling Wilburys.
So there's the main YouTube if you want to do some chit chats, and there's some Ko-fi link if you want to go at that. Hang
Yes,
on.
again.
Tracy's got a thing. No, wait a minute. Is that Austin Powers instead of Eric McElroy? Do the impression. It's the one English accent you'd be able to do.
Can't think of any of his lines now. Shagalicious. Shaga.
Yeah, he goes, Raggy?
No, not that.
Shagalicious. Shagalicious. Do I make you horny, baby? Try that one.
That's it. Do I make you horny, baby?
God, that's the worst thing. That's going to burn in my eyes, that one. Ugh.
What if I start doing Chim Chimney?
Yeah, that's better.
All right, that's better. All right, let's get away from this now. I'm getting embarrassed. I can't do impressions. Here's a problem for you, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
When is it safe to go back? That's a problem we have to solve, especially to the things that we used to do back in the past, before COVID. Remember, there were things that we used to do? There were things like this.
For far too many families, because of the pandemic, it's been a year or more since they've been with their loved ones. We've all missed out on hugs. And that
Have we, Steve? Have we all missed hugs? I'm asking you in particular because Steve is somebody, if you didn't know this already, he's been very happy with some concepts of social distancing, not touching, and not hugging. Isn't that right, Steve?
I hated hugging normally, especially workplace. Like you've met someone once and the second time they see you, they hug and do the cheek kiss. Back off. Yeah. And the thing is, I was only just about managing to hold in my temper with it before, and now I've had a full year of not having to hug anyone. So when we go back to it, I ain't going to cope.
Yep. I mean, and Steve and I have known each other a long time. We've been at various events where you are meant to hug someone. We've been at, weddings, New Year's Eve, many of the times where you're supposed to not just randomly because you're working a day with somebody, but you're supposed to grab them and hug them tight. And one of the reasons why we're still friends is because I've never attempted to do that to Steve. Yep. So personal that's why this is the best. Here, let's try. This is the closest we get to touching the wrong way. That's it. See? That's as close as we're going to get. And even that made him uncomfortable. Yeah. All right. So, but some people have missed hugs, Steve, to a point that they don't quite know how to cope with them anymore. They're not sure what it means to reconnect, as we can see further into this story.
We've all missed out on hugs, and that's exactly what one doctor has prescribed for her patient.
There you go. Prescribed a hug. So after a year of COVID, we can just prescribe anything now. We can just say, you know what I'd like? Some fairy dust, because I want a happy ending. Basically, a prescription for me just to give a fuck. I don't know. Maybe I can write a prescription out now because I'm a doctor. Let me just find a piece of paper and I'll write something out. Well, here we go. A career. There, that's for you, Steve. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Only in America could you get a story like that. But to be fair, it is kind of a sweet story. Here's a bit more.
It's been a lonely year for Evelyn Shaw. She hasn't been able to hug the people she loves most in the world, her daughter and granddaughter, for more than a year. A Tarrant has been fully vaccinated, so has Grandma. But a Tarrant told her doctor that Grandma was still so afraid.
I said she's never gonna hug me.
Are you sure she's scared? Are you sure she just doesn't love you? I mean, she's got a lot of grandchildren. Yeah. You might not be your favorite one. And I say that because I know I was my grandma's favorite. She bought me lots of Star Wars toys back in the day. I mean, have you bathed lately? It's been a year of COVID. Anyway. But you're like, did an actual doctor do this? Look here.
Doctor actually wrote that prescription.
What does it say?
It says you are allowed to hug your granddaughter.
Yep. Says it right there. But the thing is, Steve, it just says you're allowed to hug your granddaughter. It doesn't say any side effects. You know, what does this hug contain? It doesn't say how many times you're supposed to hug. It doesn't say what the duration of the hug is. It doesn't say when it's supposed to end. I mean, this is going to lead to an addiction, Steve. Where do you get the prescription refilled? Your daughter's just down on the street corner. Your granddaughter's down there. You just pop in for a hug every time you get one because they've cut you off in the pharmacy. So, how do we know that the hug actually occurred? We can see.
Prescription in hand, they proceed to Grandma's house in the Bronx.
Yeah, because that's not creepy at all. You go to Grandma's house with a prescription for a hug and a TV crew. This woman hasn't seen anyone for a year. I mean, that's just, Grandma's going to have to hug you now. Grandma didn't want to hug me, so I got a prescription and I brought a TV crew. Got to hug me now, Grandma. Got to hug me. I'm going to get that inheritance. Now, we want to see the moment. Again, remember, this is a sweet story. Let's see the moment where, they both have the hug and both, in light of everything that has happened in the last year, it's quite touching.
It's the moment they've been dreaming about.
Sweet, isn't it, Steve? I mean, even you, Mr. Jaded, not do hugs. Just a little bit of even just a smidge. But I mean, in light of this year, they're both vaccinated. We've missed contact with people. I'm looking forward to seeing my family back in the States. Everybody's had vulnerable people that they couldn't see. At the same time, I think as we come out of this, there's a very good chance that there's going to be some things that we just don't do in the same way anymore. Maybe people will hug less, they'll shake hands less, they'll keep the fist bump or the elbow bump, that kind of thing, because we're all aware now about how easy it is to spread cold and flu and other viruses. And so that's what made it so interesting. The thing to stop the spread is you watch the rest of this hug, which we can see here. It's a tender moment. They're hugging. Grandma's emotional. She's upset. She reaches in her pocket. What's she doing? Oh, she's just going to blow her nose right on her granddaughter. Oh, thanks, Grandma. I'm vaccinated for COVID, but not for the fucking flu.
Exactly.
Not even 20 seconds of hug, and she's like...
They just wipes her nose on her cheek.
Jesus Christ.
Ugh.
Dude.
We don't need it. We're absolutely fine without it.
Dude. It's a very sweet story.
Well, Chris Curling on Trovo says that Grandma's Jenny Eclair. Right. They do have that look. He also points out that Steve was carrying hand sanitizer years before COVID. Yeah. So my rucksack, hand sanitizer in one side pocket, umbrella in the other. I'm a prepared person. I don't know what the problem is. The ones that I've been using have aloe vera in them. Soft hands.
Handy for those bum swipes.
Oh, I wouldn't put alcohol. Oh, nothing alcohol. It'd be too cool. Ooh.
Eat the alcohol. Anyway.
So Starsky and Hutch Huggy Bear character was 40 years ahead of time. Yep. And ref hugging just cellophane wrap the person and then corrected to the English cling film. Yeah, I think there's a problem with breathing, but I'm not a doctor, so try it and let me know how you get on.
Definitely stops the spread. Because you can't get COVID from a corpse.
Chris says, soft yet sanitized. Very wise. Why, thank you.
This is gross.
Soft yet sanitized. My hands. Available wherever you need them. I don't know why that sounds like Elaine's bot in Seinfeld. Elaine! Weird. So I think we're up to date on those messages. What we've got going on over here.
I think so. And thank you for those who have Ko-fi'd. We'll catch up with names later. And there we go. So I think we've reached the end of a show. Yeah. You've done your stories. I've done my stories. We're going to journey off into the night soon and return next Tuesday.
Before we go, got some Twitter action. Mark has sent us a picture of that German national coach. Yeah, looks about right. I'll be able to show you on a camera soon. I'll get that up. Meanwhile, Fliss has just said that they are watching us on their TV. There's a picture, and they managed to get a picture. I'll show you both, actually. I'll try and see if I can get both. Yeah. We'll come off of the...
Someone's taking a picture of my bald spot.
Well, trust me, you don't have much to worry about. You get used to it.
That is Fliss. Oh, Fliss. I know, but there's a spot that you can see.
We can fix that in post.
Look at that.
We get some... I'm not going to show you mine. You'd see it if I was trying to do the swab. Right, here's one.
That's a nice big TV, though. I will take the size of the TV.
That's who you look like. Come on, focus. There you go.
Who's that? Oh, that's the Locum guy.
The German person.
Locum, ja. Genau. Ja, ich verstehe.
And here's a close-up of... No, I see what you mean now. Let's zoom in on that. Get some focus.
Yeah, that doesn't look good.
Yeah, I see. It's got a whiff of a tonsure about it. You've got that... You know, the...
It's like a penis.
What does your penis look like?
Cock and balls.
Oh, it does.
Someone shaved a penis in my head.
Have your kids been... There we are. Get on the focus. What have your kids been doing? Are they deliberately trying to penis shave you?
It's just the way the part is. It's not an actual bald spot.
It's just the crown, isn't it? It's just the penis-shaped crown. Which is it's the porn parody version of the Netflix show The Crown.
I'm gonna push it back now. There. How's that?
Much better. Much better.
If you could retake the picture, Fliss, please.
She's with the missus, so they could both both take the picture because I recognise that telly.
It's a nice telly.
To be fair, they also got me
Big
doing
bottle of gin
this
next to the
face.
telly, though.
A big bottle of gin next to the telly.
How big is that gin?
Big enough.
That's weird. Okay.
Yeah.
So, do send us pictures of the devices you're watching the show on. That's always fun to see. We did that at the very beginning and sort of forgot to ask for a while. And,
Martin says it must be a syrup. So I think Martin is implying, given that... Hang on, it's a brief side note that Eric won't be listening to. Like, what Eric doesn't understand is Cockney rhyming slang. So I think Martin's implying you've got some sort of a thick liquid on your head.
Okay. What sort of liquid?
A syrupy one. Molasses, maybe. Golden syrup. You got that going on? Treacle.
Salty.
It's salty from where your kids shaved a dong into your head.
I don't think we did any puns, though, after my starting saying we're going to do puns.
There was one earlier on, and I don't think I can scroll down, so I'm going to have to go comment count again. Right back at the start, if I could... Oh, I can't. So I can't remember who did it, because this won't scroll. But the pun was, some puns are strong, some puns are weak. Those ones are very punny.
That's funny.
Sorry, I forgot the name of whoever did it. I thought we'd tag at the back, but I can't scroll.
There we go. I don't see it either. So I'm going to go cry now that I've seen this bald spot, and that's going to be my weekend.
Good news is when it comes to going bald, you'll get over it in about 30 years.
All right.
Not really
good.
over it, but you stop moaning as much.
Yeah. Still. Maybe it's a worry spot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, worry spots. Truth, there's a picture of me in one of the newspaper columns I write that was taken not that long ago with a beard that was full ginger, and just life has... I've now started to get grey bits on the actual hair as well. I thought that was the deal. Life normally makes you go grey early or bald. So I thought, well, at least I'm not going to go grey. And life has just been... That's what it's been. It's been grey making.
You know what you need, Steve? A big old hug.
Big old bottle of gin.
It's just what the doctor ordered. Literally, the doctor ordered that hug. Like, take your fucking hug,
That's
Grandma.
what I didn't like about that. A prescription to hug your grandma is very much like, well, mention consent in there. Yeah, really, hugs, they need to be opt-in rather than, well, the doctor said.
Doctor said.
Martin says scratching will only make it worse, Eric.
All right. This explains why I'm bald somewhere else.
No one wants to know that. Well, that's another show. Let's get rid of that script. Now we're
There
going
we
to do that
go.
again.
And get rid of those prescriptions. And we're going to be back. You can watch all the shows back on our YouTube channel. You can share the show that's there. You can subscribe to the channel. You can tell people about the show if you've enjoyed it, especially our witty banter about bald spots and grandmas. I mean, that is what the kids want these days on the internet, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what they're all about. Mainly they were tuning in to see some swab action, but...
That was gross.
You smell cotton bud.
Well, the fact that you can smell means you probably didn't need to shove it up there.
Yeah. It's clean now, though, isn't it? But you're not allowed to put it in your ear. Don't do that, you'll die. But cram it all the way through to your brain. Honestly.
That's absolutely fine.
So yeah, subscribe to the channel thing. I've done that one. You can do some Ko-fi.com if you fancy keeping this project afloat before it eventually goes to cable TV, if that's still a thing. I don't know.
So we got to get more cotton buds. I mean, we went through about 20 in rehearsal.
Yeah,
so
that is the problem. And sadly, we lost 5 of them before I decided not to do the anal one. You got to try, though, haven't you? And when's your podcast coming out?
It won't be out till Monday, so there'll be a new podcast out on Monday. But yeah, check it out, American Exchange, where I talk to people about what's happening in the States. I bit the bullet. We're going to talk about the whole Meghan Markle thing because it's just such a big story and why it's a big story in the States. So we'll be covering that on Monday.
I don't have the copy of the book near me, but there is one on the tripod these days, propped up there. Lasted another year despite a pandemic. I just noticed in the comment section on Trovo, iSuck has just tuned in saying, if it isn't my two favourite DILFs. What are you tuning in for now? You've missed the whole thing. You're catching us right at the end. It's like turning up at a party when people are starting to collect all the empties.
Should we tell them the highlights? Yeah. Highlight number 1, my hair.
Yeah, Eric's hair.
That's a pun. That's just a pun. Highlighting my hair, coloring.
Eric's done a pun. Write this down. Put it in the diary. I'm going to add this to Google Calendar so it reminds me every year.
I'm going to walk off again, but I'm really not wearing trousers or pants this time. So.
But Isaac actually says, yes, they missed it. You can rewatch the whole thing on YouTube or over the place. Chris Curling says, cable TV at So 80s America. Again, we will take the work. Yeah, all good ideas. Well, listen, I think we're done and sorted.
We're done.
Till next time, till Tuesday at 9.
See you then. Cheers. Bye.